Why did I go to Hong Kong to study politics and international relations? I've moved 10 times in the past 10 years and I did not regret that choice at all. My top three, definitely Hong Kong, New York, and Tokyo.
Hi Geneva, great to see you again. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. So you did 2 degrees at Hong Kong U and you also worked for Hong Kong U for a few years. Can you tell us why Hong Kong U and what kind of stitched together the different things that you did at Hong Kong U? What was the common thread?
Yes, so as you mentioned, I studied both my bachelor's and master's degree at HKU and also worked a little bit there. And I think for me, there were 2 things that became a common thread. One is the international aspect of it, because my focus was international relations. I want to work for international cooperation, global cooperation, and HKU gave me that opportunity, both through academic aspects and also to work there. You know, I was working at the International Affairs Office, was involved and was responsible for some global relations, global affairs. And so that really stuck to me, and I was really happy and I was really glad that, you know, I was able to spend almost 7 years in HKU, both being a student and also being one of the staff member.
In you as an individual at Hong Kong U, I can remember that from when you were a student. And also I think in some of the choices you made at Hong Kong U, the programs you took, the work that you did with us. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself in that regard?
We had the Social Innovation and Global Citizenship program. And I remember I did a internship in NGO. I was able to learn what exactly goes behind this NGO and charity organization, not just in terms of their program, but in terms of distribution, etc. So truly understand the whole cycle of development, I would say, the development work. And also after that, you know, I went on an exchange program to Korea and Japan, and that also helped me understand a little bit more about the East Asia society and sort of, in fact, some sort of disparity in some of the country and the cultures. I think in terms of my career, that working in the education institution was one way to understand a little bit more about education and why education is so important. And after that, you know, I expanded my field to sustainable development, and that's why I wanted to work in United Nations and international organization.
What's the pathway from Hong Kong U to the UN? I know that a lot of our students, when I speak with students over the years, they're interested in international organizations, and there's nothing bigger than the UN. So how did you bridge that gap?
We heard a lot of people say that it's very difficult to enter the United Nations or international organization as a fresh graduate. So the first step was really to try to get an internship there. Having done the internship, it was slightly easier because I understood the organization, the system a little bit more. During my master's degree at the 𝗦𝗂𝗃 program, I remember one of the good things about the 𝗦𝗂𝗃 program was I was able to also take a class from another faculty. And I remember I took a class in international and regional human rights law from Faculty of Law, where I learned, okay, there are different international organizations within the UN, and there are different policies, and there are also different kind of work that you can do in the UN. It's not only about foreign affairs, but there, you know, lawyers can work in the UN, or engineers, architects can even work in the UN. All of this research really helped me to understand where I want to go, because UN is so broad. And for me personally, I focused on communications and outreach, because that was also what I've done in the HKU when I was working there. And from there, I was able to really highlight my expertise and my strength, because the UN really looked at you know, someone's expertise, and I believe that was the reason why I was able to get to the UN.
So how much of that skill set that you now possess were you able to acquire and develop at Hong Kong U?
I mean, for me, the University of Hong Kong really gave me a lot of opportunity to first understand the connection between governments, about with society, and also with private sector. because one, I was studying politics in a financial hub. That was already kind of a unique choice. Like, why did I go to Hong Kong to study like politics and international relations? But I thought it was actually an interesting angle for me, and I did not regret that choice at all. So that mix between, understanding like the political side, and of course, Hong Kong, being a special administrative region, has its own uniqueness to it as well, with the exposure to China as well, with Faculty of Social Science allowing us to do social innovation work. That adds another layer to it. And being in a financial hub, there's also another layer to it. So I think it was really a unique choice from others' perspective. But for me, it was something that makes me different at the end after I graduated,
So all those different places you've lived in, tell us, say, 2 or 3 of those different countries or cities or territories. What stands out for you?
I've moved 10 times in the past 10 years, so it's quite difficult. But I always say I have my top 3, and definitely Hong Kong, New York, and Tokyo. I think I like big cities where it's like sort of the center of everything, and but also kind of near the water. I love being in water, and at the same time has access to nature. But I think more so it's about the people and the culture in those cities. That really makes that cities unique,
So looking back at your time at Hong Kong U, anything you do differently? Any opportunities that you didn't seize?
Utilize the flexibility of choosing minors more strategically. So I remember my major was politics and my minor was global studies. But in fact, perhaps now that I look back at it, maybe my minor should have been something more specific or something like completely different. Perhaps would, give me more knowledge, more interdisciplinary knowledge, rather than like a more broader knowledge about global studies.
Where do you see yourself, say, 5 years from now?
As an international civil servant, there is an expectation for us to be mobile. So probably in the next 5 years, I would perhaps have had an experience to work in the field, which I would like to try, working directly with the people on the ground who are the beneficiary, who really felt the impact of the work of the United Nations. That's definitely in my checklist, to-do list. And next would definitely be, leading my own team or my own project in the United Nations, and specifically on topics that I'm passionate in. Because after being some sort of generalist, I now know more about the topics or the cause or the purpose that I would like to pursue in my career and in my life. And hopefully I will be able to lead a project in those areas.
Just give us a quick idea of where your passion lies. You just mentioned you got more sense of which kind of project you'd want to do.
I think eventually it comes back to education. I'm glad that a lot of the issues that the United Nations are addressing, a lot of them are driven by youth as well, such as the climate change, as you've seen, where a lot of young people have voiced out. How young people are able to voice out more, I believe it's because they are educated more about the knowledge. So education is key, and that's where my passion lies, and hopefully I'll be able to lead a project in that.
I'm sure you will. Thanks so much, Geneva. Thanks again for speaking with me. Thank you.
So thank you for having me.